There is a place in the ocean where maps lie, compasses spin, and the sea doesn't just swallow ships, it erases them. For centuries, it has whispered promises of passage to desperate sailors, only to drag them into a graveyard of waves and steel. A stretch of water so feared, even the most seasoned captains hesitate before crossing it. They call it the Drake Passage. A brutal, lawless corridor of ocean that separates the southern tip of South America from the frozen jaws of Antarctica. At first glance, it's just water, cold, churning, grey-blue water stretching endlessly from horizon to horizon. But beneath that surface is chaos. Wind funnels between continents at speeds that would shatter buildings on land. Waves as tall as 5-story buildings crash with the force of explosives. Icebergs drift like silent assassins, and the temperatures are so low that metal itself begins to fracture. This is the most treacherous sea route in the world, and for centuries it was the only way into Antarctica by ship. At 3:42 a.m. on March 6, 2007, the MS Explorer was slicing through the Drake Passage on what was supposed to be a routine polar cruise. The ship was designed for ice, reinforced, tested, trusted. But the sea had other plans. A submerged iceberg, black, invisible in the night, ripped a gash into its hull. Within moments, water was flooding in. Passengers scrambled through narrow corridors, the deck tilting beneath their feet. Power failed. Panic spread like fire. And as the storm howled outside, the ship slowly began to die. What followed was a chaotic, freezing evacuation into lifeboats as waves rose around them. For hours they drifted in darkness, surrounded by a sea that didn't care about age, wealth, or innocence. They were eventually rescued, but the message was clear. The Drake Passage doesn't negotiate, it destroys. But the story doesn't begin there. The roots of this place go deeper than water. In the age of exploration, ships were wooden and fragile. Yet they still had to cross the Drake to reach the unknown lands of the south. Sailors would stand at the helm for hours, eyes bloodshot, staring into fog that never lifted. They spoke of waves that moved like walls, winds that howled with voices. Entire crews would vanish mid-voyage. No distress calls, no debris, just silent. Between 1578 and 1616, at least 800 ships tried to round Cape Horn and survive the passage. Nearly half were lost. These weren't pirates or smugglers. They were state-sanctioned expeditions, military vessels, merchant fleets. And yet the passage tore them apart as if they were made of paper. The mystery isn't magic, it's physics. The Drake Passage is the narrowest point in the Southern Ocean's circumpolar current. That current moves around the entire planet without hitting land, which means it builds speed and fury. When it's finally forced between South America and Antarctica, it becomes a kind of aquatic bottleneck, accelerating wind and wave into a violent convergence. Think of it as the lungs of the ocean. It breathes chaos, and it isn't just waves, it's the weather. Storms form here in minutes, spinning into cyclones that engulf entire fleets. Temperatures drop so quickly that fog turns to frost mid-air. GPS fails. Satellites lose connection. Even in the modern age, with radar, sonar, and satellite navigation, the Drake remains a place of guesswork and luck. On December 2nd, 2022, a 300-passenger cruise ship named the Viking Polaris was struck by a rogue wave while crossing the passage. It wasn't a tsunami. It was something worse, a vertical wall of water, sudden and silent. One passenger was killed instantly. Windows shattered, rooms flooded, people thrown across cabins. And then, as quickly as it came, calm. That's the cruelty of this place. It kills without warning, and then pretends it never happened. There are no beaches here, no harbors, no places to rest. If something goes wrong, rescue can take days. If it comes at all, even the military respects this boundary. Ships that patrol Antarctica are chosen for their resilience. Hulls double reinforced, systems triplicated, but still they sail with caution, always aware that the sea doesn't care who built the vessel. It only cares how long it takes to break it. But still, they come. Scientists, tourists, Researchers, lured by the promise of reaching Earth's last untouched continent. The crossing is the toll, and the Drake demands it in full. Those who make it often describe it as a baptism, a test of courage, will, and luck. And those who don't, well, their names are carved into memorials far from where they disappeared. In 1994, a group of amateur sailors attempted to cross the passage in a 40-foot yacht called the Wanderer. They documented the journey. The footage is haunting. One moment, they're laughing over a small meal. The next, the camera shakes violently as the deck floods and the mast snaps. The final frame, a man clinging to a rail screaming into a void of black water. The boat was found weeks later, but what's perhaps most unnerving is how beautiful it can be. The sunrise over the Drake is surreal. The sky opens in colors no camera can quite capture. Burnt orange bleeding into polar blue. Icebergs glow from within. Albatrosses with 10-foot wingspans glide effortlessly just inches above the waves. It is hypnotic. And in that beauty lies the trap. Because the moment you believe you've tamed it, it takes you. Submarines don't fare better. The currents beneath the Drake can reach 8 knots. Fast enough to throw even the most advanced submersible off course. Pressure changes violently. Sonar echoes off ice in ways that confuse depth readings. In the Cold War, both the US and Soviet navies avoided it, unless absolutely necessary. There are rumors, unconfirmed, of lost vessels down there. Silent tombs resting at the bottom of a sea that refuses to give them up. And it's not just nature. The Drake is geopolitically tense. Several nations claim parts of Antarctica, and while treaties exist, the ships that cross this stretch often carry more than tourists. Some carry surveillance equipment. Others bring materials for ice stations that skirt the edges of legality. Beneath the white flags and research labels, there are whispers of strategic positioning. After all, Antarctica may be icy now, but beneath its surface are resources the world has barely begun to tap. In the dead of winter, the Drake becomes almost impassable. Waves reach 7, winds clock 100 miles per hour. Ice thickens, visibility drops to 0, and yet even then, ships try to cross. Because Antarctica is the final frontier, and the Drake is its moat. Even experienced sailors confess to a quiet dread before the crossing. Some call their families, others write letters they don't send. Superstitions abound, charms, rituals, traditions passed down, not for belief, but for comfort. The ocean doesn't recognize fear, but it certainly seems to reward arrogance with ruin. And yet, people return, again and again, as if proving something, as if defying the passage means conquering more than water. Maybe it does. Maybe surviving the Drake means you've glimpsed something most people never will. The fragility of control, the illusion of safety, and the raw, indifferent power of nature, unfiltered by land or law. No one owns this stretch of sea. No navy dominates it. No company can tame it. The Drake Passage is a relic of a time before modernity. It is pure chaos, dressed in waves and wind. And still it calls. It calls to those chasing wonder, to those drawn to the edge, to those who believe that somewhere on the other side of terror lies truth. And maybe they're right. But you better be sure before you answer. Because once you're in the Drake, there's no turning back.